In the blistering heat of North Africa in 1943, the American army faced one of its darkest hours. At Kasserine Pass, US troops, outnumbered and inexperienced, suffered a humiliating defeat at the hands of the battle-hardened German Afrika Korps. But while many saw the loss as a crushing blow, one man saw an opportunity for revenge, and he had a secret weapon. The American army, brand new to World War II, faced Rommel's Afrika Korps, a group of tough, experienced German soldiers. General George S. Patton was no ordinary commander. Known for his fiery temper, brilliant tactics, and larger-than-life personality, Patton was determined to rewrite the story of Kasserine Pass. To do it, he turned to an unconventional and radical strategy, one that would forever change the way wars were fought. But what exactly was his secret weapon, and how did it lead to one of the greatest turnarounds of World War II? At a key location called Kasserine Pass, in the rough terrain of Tunisia, the future of many countries was uncertain. This is the untold story of General Patton's secret weapon for revenge at Kasserine Pass, and how it transformed the tide of battle in North Africa. The Americans, wanting to show they were strong, learned a hard lesson about modern war. The German tanks commanded really well were better and stronger than the American tanks. February 1943. The inexperienced American Second Corps faced off against Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's veteran troops. The result? Chaos. The Allies lost hundreds of men, tanks, and crucial ground. It was the first major confrontation between the US Army and Nazi forces, and it left the American military reeling. The American commanders didn't have enough experience, and there were problems getting supplies. This led to disaster. The defeat exposed serious flaws in American leadership, tactics, and discipline. The Germans, led by Rommel, mocked the US Army, calling them unprepared and incapable of matching the Wehrmacht. It was a bitter pill to swallow. Kasserine Pass became a terrible place where American bravery was tested by loud cannons and scary tank noises. The loss shocked the Allied leaders and created problems for the rest of the fighting in North Africa. Back in Allied headquarters, General Dwight D. Eisenhower knew something drastic had to change. To salvage the campaign, he turned to a man whose name would soon strike fear into the hearts of his enemies, General George S. Patton. After the loss at Kasserine, a new leader came to help the American soldiers. Patton was no stranger to controversy. A self-proclaimed warrior, he believed in discipline, speed, and firepower. But his secret weapon wasn't just his ferocious personality, it was the radical overhaul of how the US Army operated in combat. General George S. Patton, already famous for his actions in World War I, arrived in North Africa. He was known for being tough like the desert wind. Patton's first move was to transform his men into a lethal fighting force. He drilled his soldiers relentlessly, instilling discipline, precision, and speed. His mantra was simple: you fight like you train. But training alone wasn't enough. Patton needed an ace up his sleeve, a weapon that would outmatch Rommel's tanks and tactics. He was a colorful character with fancy pistols and strong words. Enter the M4 Sherman tank, a machine not without flaws, but one that Patton believed could be the backbone of a new kind of warfare. Combined with an audacious tactic called the rolling advance, Patton aimed to overwhelm the enemy through sheer speed and aggression. He was a powerful leader. Patton quickly took control. He demanded that everyone listen to him, made sure everyone followed the rules, and pushed his men very hard. March 1943. The stage was set at El Ghouta, a key engagement that would give Patton the chance to redeem the US Army after Kasserine. Armed with a reorganized, better-trained force and a bold new strategy, Patton went head-to-head with Rommel's famed Panzer. He knew that to beat the Germans, the Americans needed more than just good weapons. They needed to be strong and determined. Patton, with his inspiring personality and tough rules, started to build that fighting spirit in his men. Patton's ways of doing things were different, sometimes even harsh, but they worked. Patton's secret weapon wasn't just his tanks or his men. It was his ability to inspire fear in the enemy and confidence in his troops. By blending discipline, innovation, and sheer audacity, Patton turned the tables on the Germans. The Battle of El Ghouta wasn't just a victory, it was a message. The US Army had arrived. He knew that to turn a losing army into a winning army, he had to change how his soldiers thought. The story of Kasserine Pass isn't just one of defeat, it's a tale of redemption. General Patton's secret weapon wasn't just strategy or machinery. It was his unwavering belief in the fighting spirit of his men. Through his leadership, the US Army learned from its failures and transformed into a force capable of taking on the Axis powers head-on. He trained them very hard, pushing them as far as they could go. He made them feel proud, believe in themselves, and trust him completely. He taught them to always attack, to fight the enemy first, and to never give up. He knew that the Germans, even though they were good at planning battles, could be beaten by a determined enemy. And in the middle of the Tunisian desert, he was creating just such an enemy, a tougher, stronger, and much more dangerous American army. The real test of Patton's leadership came at the Battle of El Gueta, just a little over a month after the loss at Kasserine Pass. Here, the stronger American army, now full of Patton's fighting spirit, fought the Germans again. The battle went on for days, with both sides trying to take control of an important crossroads, but this time the Americans were winning. They fought with a fierceness and toughness that surprised even the experienced German soldiers. Patton's focus on speed, clever movements, and lots of firepower worked. The win at El Gueta, although not the final victory, was a big change in the North African campaign. It showed that the Americans, with the right leader, could fight the best German soldiers and win. Kasserine Pass was a bitter lesson, but with Patton's leadership, it became the foundation for ultimate victory in North Africa and beyond. And that's how one man's secret weapon turned the tide of war. It proved that a good leader can completely change an army, and it showed that Patton's tough but effective training had worked. Don't forget to leave your opinions in the comments section and subscribe to see future uploads.